It arrived at Portsmouth, wrapped in tarpaulin, still wet, still smelling of the Tyrrhenian Sea. A steel cylinder 8 feet long, painted the dull gray-green the Kriegsmarine used on everything it wanted to disappear at night. Bolted to its back was a second, smaller hull, a cockpit if you could call it that, barely wide enough for one man's shoulders. This was a Neger, one of Germany's human torpedoes, and the one that reached Fareham in the last week of April 1944 was the first the Royal Navy had recovered with its pilot's breathing set still attached. Every diver who opened one of these before had found the canister empty, corroded, or missing entirely. This one still had the soda lime charge inside it, and when the technicians at HMS Vernon finally cracked it open, they found something that had nothing to do with torpedoes at all. The canister had failed before the mission even reached its target, and the reason it failed would force the Royal Navy to rewrite its own diving manuals inside of 6 months. The Neger had been rushed into service after Anzio, a stopgap weapon built from a torpedo hull and a man's willingness to sit on top of it. Captain Lieutenant Hans Bartels had watched the first version tested at Venice in early 1944 and pushed it into production within weeks, because Germany had nothing else that could reach an invasion fleet from underwater. 30 of them went out on the night of the 20th of April against the Allied anchorage at Anzio. 13 capsized before they cleared the beach. Only 17 made it to open water. None hit a target. One drifted into Allied hands more or less intact, its pilot dead in the saddle, and it was that pilot's Tauchretter, the Draeger oxygen rebreather strapped across his chest, that made its way up the chain to the Admiralty's diving research staff. Before the canister was touched, the investigators wanted the whole picture, and the picture was already grim. Kriegsmarine records that fell into Allied hands later that year put the loss rate for Neger pilots above 80%, and the cause of death again and again was not enemy fire. It was suffocation. A weapon meant to slip a man under an enemy hull was killing him before he even got close, and command kept sending more men out anyway, because Berlin needed a number on a chart that said operations conducted, not a number that said men found dead in their own equipment. That was the week's context worth sitting with. While the technicians at Portsmouth were still cataloging the wreck, more Negers were already being loaded onto trucks at La Spezia for the next mission. If a video like this is the kind of thing you come back for, the ones where a piece of hardware turns out to be a report on how somebody actually died, this channel does one most weeks, so it's worth a subscribe if you haven't already. Right, back to the canister. The first job was simply to weigh the thing. A standard Draeger Tauchretter charge held roughly 1.5 kilograms of soda lime, granulated calcium hydroxide treated with a small percentage of sodium hydroxide to speed the reaction, packed into a cylindrical canister that sat against the diver's chest. The examiners drained the canister, dried the granules, and weighed them against a fresh charge pulled from Royal Navy stores of captured Draeger stock. The recovered charge came in nearly 400 grams light. Someone had underfilled it, or the sea had gotten in and dissolved part of it away during the hours the wreck sat in shallow water before recovery. Either explanation was troubling, but the second one mattered more, because it meant the seal on the canister lid had not been holding. One of the technicians, the report simply lists him as a chief petty officer attached to the diving section, sat with the lid in his hand for a long moment before he called the others over. He'd expected corrosion. He hadn't expected to find the gasket already perished, the rubber gone brittle and cracked along one whole face, as though it had failed long before this canister ever went into the water that night. He wrote in his notes only 2 lines, gasket unserviceable, moisture ingress evident. It read like nothing. It meant the entire rebreather had been drawing seawater into the one component that could not tolerate it. Soda lime absorbs carbon dioxide through a straightforward chemical reaction. The diver breathes out. The CO2 passes through the granules, and calcium hydroxide converts it to calcium carbonate and water, scrubbing the exhaled breath clean before pure oxygen tops it back up from the cylinder. It is not a complicated system. It is, however, a system with almost no margin for error, because the reaction only works if the granules stay dry and evenly packed. Introduce seawater into that canister and the granules don't stop working cleanly. they cake. They fuse into a solid mass around whichever point the water entered first, and the breathing gas, instead of passing through the full bed of soda lime, finds the shortest route around the blockage. The scrubber looks intact from the outside. Inside, most of it has stopped doing anything at all. That was layer 2, and it is the layer that made the investigating officer put his pen down. Because channeling, as the divers called it, doesn't cause a diver to run low on oxygen, the cylinder still has plenty. It causes carbon dioxide to build up in a closed loop that the diver is breathing directly over and over, while the gauge in front of him shows a full tank. He isn't suffocating from lack of air. He is being slowly poisoned by his own exhaled breath, and there is no dial on the Tauchretter that would tell him it was happening until his hands stopped answering him. Before the next stage of the examination, one of the physiologists on the Portsmouth team, on loan from Seba Gorman's diving research staff, spent an evening simply timing a fresh, correctly packed Draeger charge on the bench, breathing through it himself in short controlled sessions to establish what a working canister actually did. He wanted a baseline before he condemned the German design outright. The comparison, when it came, was not kind to the design at all.
With a full, dry, properly sealed charge, the Tauchretter's scrubber could hold carbon dioxide below the danger threshold for a little over 2 hours of moderate work. The recovered canister, underfilled, wet and channeled, was recalculated by the Portsmouth team to have failed inside 25 minutes. 25 minutes against a mission profile that expected the pilot to spend upward of an hour in the water reaching his target, aiming and withdrawing. The Neger pilot who died at Anzio had likely lost effective CO2 scrubbing before he'd travelled half the distance to the anchorage. He wasn't killed by British depth charges or by a lookout's rifle. He was killed by 400 grams of missing chemical and a gasket nobody had replaced. There's a smaller, quieter detail in the file that the technicians almost didn't flag, because on its own, it looks like nothing. A maintenance stamp, faint, on the inside of the canister lid, dated 6 weeks before the Anzio operation. Whoever packed that charge had done it once, in March, and it had sat in Kriegsmarine stores ever since, through transport, through storage in damp coastal depots, through however many hands moved it toward the boats at La Spezia. Nobody had retested it. Nobody had reweighed it. The Germans were pushing pilots out with rebreathers built on the assumption that a soda lime charge, once packed, would still be good weeks later. An assumption that was simply wrong in a maritime climate, and one that Draeger's own pre-war manuals had warned against. The war context that week was casino. The fourth and final Allied assault on the monastery was 3 weeks off, and every diving officer at Portsmouth understood that whatever came out of this examination had a shelf life measured in operations, not years, because the invasion of Europe was coming and closed-circuit rebreathers of exactly this Draeger family were already earmarked for Royal Navy frogmen clearing obstacles ahead of the landing craft. If a German canister could fail this badly from age and damp, a British one built on similar chemistry could fail the same way, on the same beaches, in front of the same landing craft the frogmen were meant to be protecting. That was the point at which the investigation stopped being about the enemy weapon and became about their own. A petty officer diver at the Seba Gorman Experimental Unit had, only weeks earlier, come close to blacking out during a routine trial dive using a British closed-circuit set built to the same general principle. At the time, it had been logged as diver fatigue. Nobody had connected it to canister packing. Now, with the German failure laid out on the bench in front of them, the light charge, the perished seal, the channeling, somebody in that room asked the obvious question out loud: how do we know our own charges aren't doing the same thing? They checked. They found variance of up to 15% in the weight of soda lime charges packed by hand at the Seba Gorman depot. Different technicians, different days, no standard scoop, no standard tamping pressure. Some canisters were overfull, wasting capacity. Some were exactly like the German one, underfull, loosely packed, prone to channeling the moment water reached the seal. 15% was the number that changed the manual. By July 1944, ahead of clearance operations tied to the Normandy buildup, the Admiralty issued revised packing instructions for closed-circuit rebreather canisters, a fixed weight, a fixed tamping procedure, and a mandatory re-weigh before any set left stores. With any canister packed more than a set number of days beforehand, pulled and repacked regardless of how it looked. It reads like paperwork. It was, in practical terms, the Royal Navy admitting that a German pilot's death at Anzio had exposed a flaw sitting quietly inside their own frogman's equipment, and fixing it before it killed a British diver, clearing beach obstacles under fire in Normandy instead. That single captured canister is in a naval museum store today. The paint long gone matte. The gasket that failed still visible along one seam if you know to look for it. Visitors walk past the Neger hull it came from and see a small submarine, a curiosity, a footnote next to the bigger machines of the war. They don't see the 400 grams that were missing, or the maintenance stamp from 6 weeks earlier, or the 15% variance that a British depot found in its own canisters once someone finally thought to check. The pilot who died with that canister on his chest never got close enough to fire his torpedo, but the failure that killed him ended up rewriting how another Navy's divers breathed underwater for the rest of the war. Which means the most consequential thing that machine ever did. It did after it had already failed.